There's a new Nissan Sentra for the 2026 model year, and in this video I'm going to cover the exterior, the interior, take it for a drive and see what it's like out on the road, as well as talking about the kind of fuel economy you can expect, and also the pricing and how it compares to the competition these days. And so as far as this new generation of the Sentra, so you can see there's some radical styling changes here, and their whole purpose was to make it seem wider and longer, even though the dimensions are basically identical to the last generation. So it's all just visual stuff that they're doing to try and, really change the perception of the styling of this vehicle. And you can see it's very bold here, especially on this SR trim that we have. Now there's 4 different trims to pick from, and if you don't want, for example, all the black in the front grille and bumper area, you can go for a more body colored look with some of the other trims there. But especially here on this SR, it's nice and sporty, and we also have this energetic amber color here. And you can let me know in the comments whether you think this is orange or red. In the sun here, it definitely looks more orangey for sure, but a really fun color either way you look at it. And just a really nice front end too of these new headlamps with projector LEDs. Now you will have projectors across the board, but if you go down to the S or SV trims, you will lose those 2 little LED strips that run down beneath the light there, so that accent thing goes away. But otherwise, it's the same great light, and they say these lights actually put out 70% more light, so it's gonna be better at lighting the road, giving you better nighttime visibility. And projectors are nice, because there's a lot of others in this segment that go cheap with reflectors instead. So a very premium headlight, especially for a vehicle that has such, a nice low starting price here. And I'll talk more about pricing later in the video. But all of these trims, even if they're fully loaded with all the option packages, none of them cross $30,000. It's all under 30, and these start, just over $23,000. But anyway, so really nice up front there. Now coming down to the sides, this one has these accessory wheels, which are an extra $600, but you'll get 18-inch wheels that are black on all the SRs either way, and a really nice look. You also have, the black mirror caps, and you also will see the 2-tone combos. They're only available here on SR. If you go for the other trims, it's just all gonna be one color, and you can also get an SR that isn't 2-tone if that's not your thing. But on the SRs, you also get the black and sportier side skirts that come out a little bit more. And then going out to the back, it looks really great too. I love the black spoiler you get on SR, the sportier rear bumper here. And you have those darker taillights too that almost meet in the middle. They don't go all the way across, but basically a full width kind of tail lamp there. And really cool look, I gotta say. But I mean, it's also really nice in the other trims as well, which look a little classier. And you go down to like 17-inch wheels on the SL, which might even give you a little bit of a softer ride. But it's great that we have some nice color options, the blue, this ember color, and even like a nice imperial bronze color that looks really cool on those SLs and others. But overall, I think they did a really great job here of restyling the Sentra so that it stands out from the very crowded sea of compact sedans here. The interior of the 2026 Sentra is a very nice place to be, and they gave it a nice improvement as far as the technology, but it's so plush in here still. We have ambient lighting, which is something that most others don't offer. It's just a very premium feeling interior, and there's a lot of nice touches here. I already thought that Sentra was really plush for the last generation. I was always impressed with that, and they've just continued that here for 2026 as well. So anyway, first thing, sitting down in these seats, we have these really nice leatherette seats here that are available in this SR. Now, if you go for the lower trims, the S and the SV are going to be cloth. They're different kinds of cloth for each trim. You also have a cloth available as the base set up for the SR, and then the SR Premium gives you these leatherette. There's also quilted leatherette seats as standard on the SL trim. But these seats are fantastic. They're the zero gravity seats, and after spending most of the day already in these seats, they're definitely the most comfortable in this segment, easily. And it's just, if you're doing a lot of miles, Sentra, in my opinion, might win out just because of the seat comfort. It's that good. I mean, these are these zero gravity seats that Nissan's used for a while now, but they absolutely just feel so good. And I love that they're perforated, so they breathe a little bit better than some other leatherette that other companies do that might, not have the perforations. And a little fun Easter egg is the perforations, if you look closely, actually are SR for this design of them. But anyway, really great seats here. They're heated seats here. That's also available in every trim. Even a base S, you can option on a weather package for heated seats, which is great. And even on the SR, they are optional. You have to go for a package to get them, or you can just go up to the SL where they do become standard. But really great seats here. Now, it is worth noting there's no ventilated seats. I believe K4 offers that. I think it's the only one in the segment that offers those. But just know you only have heat here in these, but still really great seats. Moving on to the steering wheel, that's the new Nissan design. design here, and it's a really great wheel. It's a little odd not having a bottom spoke, but it's really nice to rest your hands down there, not having to spoke it in the way. And it has a great 9-3 grip, and I really like the buttons on here too. There's not too many, and they just feel very nice and solid. And this little click wheel has like a nice clickiness to it, and just is, to me, an improvement than over what we've had previously, and really great with that. We also have a heated steering wheel that's available on I believe SR, and it's standard I think on SL, but you know, really great. You have the heated wheel here if you do have some cold mornings. It's a very nice thing to have, and I'm glad that they haven't reserved that only for a top trim, and they actually allow you to option that on too. Moving on to the gauge cluster here. Every trim except the base trim will get this 12.3-inch infotainment screen and 12.3-inch gauge cluster combo. And so the gauge cluster in the base one's going to be a 7-inch screen, but other than that one, everything else gets the 12.3, and it's really nice. It's high resolution, very crisp, and you know, clear with the graphics there. And just as the basic stuff, not too much customization, although if you don't like the traditional dials, you can drop those away and give you a little bit of a larger infotainment space there in the middle to show off, you know, whatever you want to have on there. Now, moving over to the middle of the dashboard here, the 12.3-inch touchscreen is standard on everything, including the base trim. And 12.3 inches is, I mean, that's a big deal. I believe K4 also does 12.3-inch screens, but that's the only one to even match this in the segment as far as screens. And also, I don't think the base K4 has a screen that big. So this, I think, is actually best in class for the infotainment. And it's, you know, really nice. Now, it doesn't have built-in navigation or anything. It's mostly defaulting to doing the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which is standard. In the base S model, it's going to be wired still, but it is wireless and everything else. There's been occasional times where it's been a little slow. It does say this is a pre-production software it's running for this here. So hopefully the speed gets a little bit quicker, because there's a beat you have to wait for some stuff. It's still far better than Subaru's system, for example, on the Impreza, which is really laggy. And I love how high resolution this is. And yeah, just a very nicely done screen. And now you will see that you do have satellite radio still, which is also nice, because that's something Honda, for example, has gotten rid of. And so you have all the things you want there. It's also paired up to this Bose stereo here in these top trims. The Bose stereo is available in the SR, and it's standard in the SL. It's an 8-speaker Bose stereo, and it is redesigned over the last generation Bose stereo. So basically, they put a 10-inch subwoofer in the rear parcel shelf there, where previously you had 2 different speakers, and they've added a center speaker up front here on the dashboard. And so that's going to give you an improved sound experience over the last generation 8-speaker system you had. Now, if you go to lower trims, there's going to be a 6-speaker stereo that's standard on SR and available on SV, and then the base stereo is going to be a 4-speaker system. But you know, I'm very happy with this Bose so far. Haven't had a ton of time to listen to, you know, any good sources, but satellite radio, even that sounds pretty good. And the Bose systems and the Nissans are also usually very good in other vehicles I've sampled them into, so I have full confidence this is going to sound really good, and better than some of the others, for example, like the Corolla, which just has a JBL option, very unimpressive compared to this. And so, yeah, really happy with that. You will see also, though, that they do have some of the climate controls in the screen here, but don't worry, because there is, you know, the physical hard button to turn on the heated steering wheel. There still is, you know, physical capacitive touch buttons here to do the heated seats, but, you know, you don't have to do everything through the screen, although you can if you want to. And you will see, though, coming down, that you also do have a few regular buttons around a volume knob. I love that we still do have that volume knob. And the one camera button, by the way, you can see the 360 camera and everything is really nice and high resolution on this big display, and really well done there. Now, coming down, Nissan is, you know, happy to say they're the first to do this capacitive touch area for the climate controls. Typically, people seem to prefer knobs and buttons. Now, this feels very high tech, but you can see it's very reflective, and there's no indents or anything, so you're going to have to look down to make sure you're hitting the right thing. I don't love that. Now, you do have auto climate control on everything except the base ones. Hopefully you can mostly set it and forget about it most of the time, but, you know, just know that some of you, you know, might miss the knobs and buttons that you get in all the competitors. But, you know, this, again, does seem futuristic, so I'll leave that up to you to decide which you prefer. Now, coming down, you do have a Qi wireless charging pad that is standard on SR and SL, and that's available on the SV trim. But it's nicely rubberized and has these little bumps in it, so it actually does hold your phone in pretty well, and it's, you know, not a huge space, and that's good, because that means you don't have a whole lot of room for your phone to slide off of the contact patch for the charger. So that actually is a pretty nice design. You also have 2 USB-C jacks and a regular power outlet in there as as well. And also you'll see you have your kind of very similar shifter to the last generation. That's all mostly the same, and a few other hard buttons here behind it. You have your 2 cup holders that are a good size, and behind that you'll see an extra little bonus space, and then you'll open up the center armrest and you'll see a very deep armrest in there. I mean, lots of space to fit all kinds of stuff, and that's bigger than a lot of the other competitors. So I'd say this is on the upper end of the scale as far as cargo space up front here and storage space. Also, I love the padding you have here. So you have a really nicely padded armrest that's really well done, and even this seam line is soft. So others sometimes have seam lines where you don't like having your elbow there, but this actually is soft all the way through. I love that. Also, nice padding down by your doors where you'll see a pocket with a bottle holder and some nice texture even around your window switches here. And just all very premium. And one of my favorite things is you have padding down by your knees. And aside from Mazda 3, I don't think anyone else does this in this segment. And even padding by your knees, there's some high-end luxury brands that don't bother to pad this. And when you're on the highway and you're using the adaptive cruise, you might be resting your legs up against the center console here or something. Having that be padded is really a nice touch, and I don't know why more companies don't do it, but I love that Nissan does. That was something I really enjoyed about the last generation as well. I'm glad they've retained that here, even though they're trying to, keep it to an aggressive price point. This still, to me, is one of the plushest interiors in this segment, and I love the Sentra for it. And so really a top-notch interior design. Also, the 64 color ambient lighting is fun to play around with, and is going to be just, again, another differentiator between this and all the others in the segment, which are just going to not have that. Now, you also get a moonroof. That's going to be an option here in the SR. It's standard on SL. It's a nice one to have. It's the regular kind of small kind of moonroof, but should be totally fine. And then moving on to the back seat here in the Sentra. Because we don't have any size changes, we don't have any extra space really, although Nissan does claim best-in-class front legroom, but as far as rear legroom, that's also very good. I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself. I have about 2 inches of legroom to spare, which is, very good for this segment. I don't think it's the biggest in the segment. I think Kia K4 takes that crown with its massive back seat that it now has. But, compared to all the other stuff, I'd say it's slightly better than Corolla, right on par with Civic, and, a very good sized back seat. And you'll see they have plenty of headroom there as well. And you also will see that on the SR and the SL here, you get the fold down center armrest. You don't get that on S or SV, so just keep that in mind. But nice to have that for those cup holders. You do also have pockets in the doors with bottle holders as well. And when you look forward, they get a USB-C jack, no air vents or anything, unfortunately. Now, moving on to the trunk space here in Sentra, they've actually really improved that as well. So they said it's now a lower lift-over height and it's a wider opening. And so that allows you to get more stuff into this trunk. And they wanted to improve the versatility of Sentra so that less and less people need to go up to an SUV or feel like they need to go up to an SUV. So they said you can actually fit a 55-inch TV back there in the box in the trunk of this. And they also even opened up the opening for when you fold down the rear seats, so that's wider than it was before. And so it should just hopefully make this a little bit more versatile than the past generation, and again, make you really question, do you need to go up to an SUV? I think a lot of people won't. And especially, for loading strollers, things like that in and out, having that lower liftover height is going to be very nice as well. Now, beneath the floor, there is no spare tire, unfortunately, on any of these. It's just the tire mobility kit kind of thing. So that's a shame, because some others do offer a spare in this segment. But other than that, though, really nice trunk space area. And so we've had the vehicle on the whole time here because it's about 90 degrees here in Phoenix currently. But to turn these things on, it's all keyless access, keyless entry, push button start. Now, you don't get the proximity thing, I don't believe, on S, but everything else has not only proximity key, but also auto lock whenever you walk away or walk up to it. And it even does a little animation whenever you come up to it, which is fun too. But so, yeah, everything from SV and up does have full proximity and everything. And this is the key. It's the standard Nissan key they've used over the past few years, which is really nice. I like that it's nice and thin, and it just feels pretty nice. So we'll go ahead and turn it off and back on here just so you can hear the startup chimes, which are very soothing there. But yeah, just put your foot on the brake and it starts right up, and nice little luxurious kind of touch with that startup sound. All right, so setting off here in the 2026 Sentra. So the first thing that you notice about it, I think the first thing that I'm really appreciating is the really good visibility. I really love that the screens don't come up very high. They're set nice and low in the dash, and so I mean you can still see the full dashboard, you still see, you know, a nice clear view of the road. The hood drops down nicely, nice pretty thin A-pillars as well, good view out of the back. And the great thing with these is that it's the only one in its segment that gives you a 360 camera in the higher trims, and that's, I believe, available on the premium package for the SR and standard on SL. But that's going to be really great for parallel parking whenever you're maneuvering in tight spaces, wanting to make sure, you know, you're parked well. You know, it's just nice to have that for sure. You also have all the other driver assist technology that can help you out as well with maneuvering, and you do also get like rear automatic braking even in those higher trims as well. And otherwise, though, it's a nice, smooth driver. We're just driving on some surface streets here outside of Phoenix currently, and one of the nice things for this new generation Sentra is that it's 6% stiffer for the rigidity, which doesn't sound like a lot, but, you know, any progress is good progress. And so basically what that means is you're going to have a little bit of a softer ride because they're able to kind of loosen up the suspension as a result of that. And it also means that it's going to be a little bit quieter in here. They said that they actually reduced the noise pathways in this vehicle, and they've just done a few things with the NVH to help it to be a little bit quieter than the last generation Sentra, which is you know, a great improvement again. I think Sentra was actually one of the better ones in its segment already for the last generation, certainly quieter than Corolla and some of the others, but so far I've just noticed it's pretty nice and quiet here, even on these roads, which are a little bit rough at times. It's been completely fine so far. And as we're lightly accelerating here, one thing that I'm also really appreciating is the throttle response. It is actually nice and responsive, and even though this still uses a CVT, they've retuned the CVT, so it feels like it has shift points a little more than before. They already improved that with the last generation CVT, which I think actually was pretty good already, to be honest. I really liked it, but this just now certainly feels like it's actually shifting around and feels more natural. Yeah, you know, it's really responsive with the way it does those downshifts too, so you're not waiting, it's not trying to feel like it's hypermiling and resisting, giving you more power. It feels very eager. Also, as we're leaning onto the brakes, coming up to yet another red light here, you know, the brakes feel nice and responsive too. They start to, you know, grab, you know, a little bit into the pedal there. You have a little bit of dead travel, which is nice because it makes it nice and easy to be smooth with your brakes. It's not quite as touchy as a Toyota brake pedal in my opinion, but you know, that allows you to again be a little bit more relaxed with your brake inputs, and still feels, you know, very nice and strong and responsive as far as all that goes. I also just like that this, you know, feels still nice and compact. The dimensions haven't changed, you know, from the last generation, and so behind the wheel here just means that it still feels like a nice compact car. They didn't try and make it huge feeling or really grow it. Like for example, Kia K4 really got bigger, and this is still a nice compact size. And now we're out on the highway in the Sentra, and it's really pretty nice out here too. Again, this is a little bit of a noisier surface for this highway, but, you know, doing 65 miles per hour here, you know, it's completely fine for this segment in this class of vehicle. And again, I do think it's quieter than Corolla. I don't know if it's the quietest in the segment. I think maybe Mazda 3 might be a little bit better, and maybe some others, but again, completely par for the course at the very least, I'd say. And it's really nice out here though. I mean, nice and smooth. I mean, the ride combined with these zero gravity seats, I mean, like, you know, I kind of feel bumps a little, but like it's so impressive with how much it absorbs everything. It just really makes everything so smooth. And because of especially these seats, which to me, I still love these seats, this would be one of the best road trippers, I think, in this segment, because it's just supreme comfort. And then, you know, when you pair it up with this Bose stereo, you have that going, you know, you're gonna have a really nice experience on a long road trip here in this. Other things that will help you, especially with driver fatigue, is all the driver assistance stuff. So there's a lot that comes standard. You get adaptive cruise control as standard. You actually do get blind spot monitoring as standard, and even blind spot intervention. And the intervention is the first in this segment. We see it in other segments, but this is the first for the compact sedan segment, and that's really great. So if you start lane changing and it sees there's someone in your blind spot, it will actually, you know, counter steer for you there and alert you to that, obviously, as well. But, you know, that's a really nice extra thing to have. Also, we have, of course, automatic emergency braking, all those types of things as standard. But I mean, a lot of this stuff, other companies do charge you extra for. You have to go up to a higher trim for, and with this, you don't have to do that. Now, there are still a few things that are options. For example, the 360 camera is part of the higher package here for the premium SR, and it's on the SL there. We also do have Pro Pilot Assist available for the first time in Sentra, which will combine the adaptive cruise control system with the lane keep assist system. You don't get lane keep assist as standard. You do get a lane departure alert and warning system as standard. So basically, it will still kind of nudge you to help you to not go over the road lines, but it's not going to do the more active steering assist unless you get that Pro Pilot Assist, which is going to be here on the SR and on the SL. And it's a very good system. I've tested it in many other vehicles from Nissan in the past few years, and it's really good, and making sure you don't cross the road lines. It's very natural feeling. It doesn't ping pong or feel unrefined, really. And it's just, you know, a very well done system. And so, you know, I'm very happy that we have that available here in this for sure. Now, I don't have a ton of highway time here today to do a ton of testing, but I'll hopefully be getting one of these as a press vehicle to test on my more challenging highways in southwestern Pennsylvania, where we have windy highways. So stay tuned and subscribe for more coverage if you're curious about how this system does in this vehicle in particular. But I'm not expecting any major upsets. I'm sure it's going to be totally fine. And also, just with the refinement too, you know, the engine, even though it's carryover for the engine here, it really doesn't have to work very hard. And even we're going for a pass here, you know, it's one of the quieter engines in this segment. If I had just done the same thing in Corolla, it'd be a bunch of racket. Even some of the others like Subaru Impreza, you know, it's really good. Now, there are still some others. I think like Kia K4 has a turbo in its higher trims. You know, that certainly will be a little bit nicer, but those are more expensive, you know. So I think, again, Nissan coming back to the value thing being really important, you know, is great. And again, this is still completely sufficient. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put it up into the sport mode here, which gives you quicker throttle response, sharper steering, and a little bit of a different transmission tuning. But let's turn down onto this back road here and see how it accelerates. Going slightly uphill, but here we go. Okay, a little bit of a delay there. I was expecting more of a decisive kind of response, but yeah, it's smooth, and you know, it gets up and goes pretty nicely. Now, mechanically, this is all carryover. So it's the 2-liter naturally aspirated direct injected 4-cylinder engine, and again, runs through this CVT transmission, and it gives you 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. And 0 to 60 time wasn't given, but should be basically the same as the last generation, which will put you, I'm sure, somewhere between a 7 and 8 second kind of time. I mean, you know, there are punchier options in this segment for sure. Some that even come standard with more power, like Mazda 3, which gives you 191 horsepower now, you know, and so this isn't going to be the one for people who care about power. There's lots of other options for those who do, but for the average kind of driver that, you know, doesn't need to have something that, you know, makes their hearts race with, you know, adrenaline, this is going to be totally fine, totally sufficient. And you know, like I mentioned earlier, you know, out on the highway, you know, it's plenty of power for passing. And again, because the transmission is nice and responsive with, you know, giving you the higher RPMs whenever you request it, it's completely fine as far as all that goes. So these are going to be rated at 29 mpg in the city, 38 on the highway, and 33 combined. Now, these SRs, you're going to lose 1 mpg for the city and combined rating, and 2 mpg for the highway, just due to the bigger wheels you get on SR, and also the SL, even though that's only 1 inch bigger. The 17s and the 18s will lose slightly on fuel economy versus the 16s you get on the S and on the SV trims. And, you know, fuel economy is another area where this is, you know, still pretty good. You know, you're getting in the 30s there for the most part, and during our driving here so far today, I'm averaging 29.8 mpg, so I'm basically at 30, and that's, you know, again, very much par for the course in this segment. But, you know, it is worth noting a lot of the competitors offer hybrid versions, and there is no hybrid version of the Sentra here. For most people, again, that's fine. It's about the price point, and hybrids add extra cost. But, you know, for those who are after better fuel economy, just know that you have plenty of options with, you know, Corolla, with Civic, even, you know, Elantra and others that offer a hybrid version too. And those are going to get a lot better fuel economy. Some of those are, you know, high 40s into the 50s, while also giving you a lot more power in many cases as well. So again, that comes with a price premium. But if you have the extra money to spend, you want to get the better fuel economy or the better power or both, just know that Nissan can't offer that, but the others do. The one other safety thing to mention here about these is the crash testing. So they don't have any updated crash testing performance yet. They are targeting 5 stars at the NHTSA, and they did say they are targeting an IHS Top Safety Pick award, and so that's not the Top Safety Pick Plus, but they are hoping to do the Top Safety Pick. But it is worth noting that due to, again, the cost concerns of trying to keep this car affordable, they didn't add pre-tensioners and load limiters to the rear seat belt. That's something a lot of companies are doing to perform better in the moderate overlap crash test, where now the IHS is really focusing on rear passenger safety. Now, this could still perform very well without those. There's some vehicles that can't perform well, but that's been kind of the way that many companies have improved that. But hopefully, again, if they're targeting the IHS Top Safety Pick, then hopefully that means we will have some crash test improvements, because that has always been one of the holdups for me for Sentra, is that it isn't one of the safest ones as far as crash testing goes in the segment. Now, it's still a modern car. It still has lots of airbags and all the new assists here that will hopefully prevent accidents altogether. But whenever you do actually do that crash testing, that's where this doesn't perform quite as well as some of the others in the last generation. At least we will see. I can't say until we get that data in for sure. But there's a lot of carryover here with this chassis and everything. But it is more rigid, so I'm hoping that that platform improvement does actually give us some better safety ratings. And it's good that if it's even a Top Safety Pick award, that'd be a nice improvement over the last generation, and would certainly help this to just be viewed as a little bit more of a safer pick than it was in the past. Now, as far as handling goes, we don't really have any nice windy roads here in the Phoenix area, so not able to really test the handling. I can test that some more whenever I get on my own back roads, when I have one of these for a week back in Pittsburgh sometime later this year. But it's mostly carryover as far as the chassis. Again, slight bit of extra rigidity there, and again, a retuned suspension. But from just going around roundabouts and 90-degree turns and things like that, it handles itself totally fine. Again, this is no sports car. Obviously, the SR trim with its bigger wheels is going to handle a little bit sharper than the ones with the wider sidewalls and the smaller wheels. But again, it's all going to be mostly the same. And these are nice and light, though. These weigh right around 3,100 pounds in their base trim, up to under 3,200 pounds even fully loaded. So not a lot of weight there. It's a multi-link independent rear suspension, and you get 205 wide tires on the lower wheels and lower trims. But then for these top versions of the SL and the SR, you will go up to 215s. Just regular Hankook tires, obviously nothing sporty once again. And it's a sedan, and it's a light sedan, a small sedan. So that inherently is going to give you some handling goodness. But if you want the sportiest handling one of the bunch, I don't think this will be that. I think it's hard to beat Civic as far as handling goes. But I think overall still going to be totally fine. And again, especially for someone who just wants, a nice handling, comfy, stylish daily driver, I think this is going to be totally fine. The last thing to mention is pricing and how this compares to the competition, so let's get into that. So the 2026 Sentra will start at $23,645, including destination, and go up to $29,235 for a loaded SL trim. If you're looking to get the best price possible on a Sentra or any vehicle, you're definitely going to want to head over to maranmotoring.com and go to the new car quotes page. There you'll get access to dealer invoice pricing, as well as getting connected to a local dealer, so you can check out the new Sentra for yourself and see what you think about it. So there's going to be a link in the description, as well as one in a pinned comment to take you straight to that site and get you all that info. Now, as far as how the Sentra compares to the competition, starting with the best sellers, as far as the Toyota Corolla goes, it starts a few $100s higher while giving you a smaller screen, a less plush interior, and more road noise in my opinion, but it does give you a little more power and a few more miles per gallon. And on the upper end, they crack over $30,000 while still giving you a smaller screen and still don't give you full leatherette seats. The Honda Civic is an even worse value, starting over $2,000 higher with smaller screens, no extra power, and no blind spot monitoring. And if you want a luxurious one, that's only available as a hybrid and will cost you $33,500 and still gives you a smaller touchscreen, although you do get an impressive 50 miles per gallon and 200 horsepower. The Kia K4 is probably the strongest competitor, starting about $500 less than the Sentra, matching its 12.3-inch touchscreen and having more rear seat legroom, but the interior is a little less plush feeling and you don't get blind spot monitoring as standard. On the top end though, you can get a fully loaded K4 for about $900 less than the top Sentra, and the Kia even adds in ventilated seats and memory seats, plus a larger moonroof. And it gives you a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, which is double the amount of years that Nissan gives you. The Hyundai Elantra doesn't have 2026 pricing up on their configurator at the time of me filming this, but for 2025 it does undercut the Sentra pricing, starting a couple $100 lower as well, but you do get a smaller screen and a less plush interior again. On the upper end, a loaded Elantra Limited still has smaller screens but costs just $28,000, a nice $1,200 savings over the top Sentra, and you also get that 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty with the Hyundai. And lastly, even though the Mazda 3 is the only one that gets close to matching the plushness of the Nissan, and is the fastest one of the bunch as well with 186 horsepower and a normal 6-speed automatic, it starts over $2,000 higher, has a much smaller interior and trunk, and only gives you features like a heated steering wheel, Bose stereo, and 360-degree camera if you go for the turbo all-wheel drive version, which is nearly $10,000 higher at $38,500. So overall, I think the K4 is still the best value in this segment, but outside of that one, I'd say the Sentra is now the best value actually in this segment and one of my top picks. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with the Sentra. I love the pricing, and they kept it nice and low here, and even a fully loaded trim doesn't cross 30. I mean, there's a lot of perks here. Obviously, this can't match, the hybrid options that those have and the sporty options those have, but for just the regular buyer that just wants, again, a stylish, comfy, daily driver and doesn't want to break the bank, I think this is going to be really one of the best choices in this segment. And yeah, I think they did a fantastic job here on the new Sentra. So anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on the 2026 Sentra. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Huge thanks to Nissan for providing me here with this opportunity to review the new Sentra for you guys today. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.